Welcome again. It is your man, brother minister at Ghetto Prepper here on YouTube. Just starting this channel. I just started this channel yesterday, November 28th, 2022. And I'm going to take the next 5 years or so and just keep on shooting, keep on growing this channel. 9 minutes, 59 seconds or less for now anyway, these first 10 or 15 or 20 videos. So we can get acclimated, you black folks, about what is coming, what is already here, and what you need to do in order to make yourself ready. Now, I wanted to finish up with a thought from one of our last video anyway. And what I was talking about hunkering down if you're in inner, let me frame this. If you're in an inner city, about if a nuke drops, if there's flooding, if there's some kind of catastrophe, but mostly a nuclear war, because I'll flash across the screen this fool, Zelensky, whatever his name is, over in Ukraine is calling on NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is a conglomeration, I think, of 28 to 29 Western countries. A couple of them aren't Western, but basically Western countries anyway, considered Western anyway, that are standing against Russia. And it was founded to stand against Russia during the Cold War, right at the kickoff of the Cold War and that. But I said that to point this out is that black folks, I'm worried about you. You know, these other, before I get to what I was going to say, these other, there's a lot of prepping channels, white prepping channels, that are teaching you to get ready for disaster, but none of them are addressing the challenges that we as black people here in America have with preparation. But I also want to say this, is that when those nukes start dropping and start flying, they're going to kill, they're indiscriminate. I will give you that. But I also showed you a nuclear map, and I'll flash it on the screen now, that we black folks, we largely live in cities around the country, whether it's in the southeast, all the way up the East Coast, even all over. We live all over now. You know, I live in a Midwestern state, lily white Midwestern state. So we live all over, but we are concentrated in those cities. And if you understand the nuclear strike map, whether China nukes us, whether it's Russia that nukes us, whoever it is, you're going to see that those nukes oftentimes are going to drop in cities where we are the majority population or where we congregate at. So the question becomes, we have unique challenges. And I want you to go back all the way to the first video. They're only 9 minutes, 59 seconds or less. So you can see the build up to this. So I said with respect to hunkering down, here's the issue. Nuclear weapons today are much different than those that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II. They were dropped, I believe it was in August of 1945 by the United States on Japan. Japan surrendered. There was much more to that. It just wasn't about the nuclear weapons that they surrendered, but nevertheless. So I'm pointing out that if it's an airburst, anybody within maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 miles of that inflection explosion point, all the way out to possibly 15, maybe, depending on the tonnage of the weapon, you're going to be annihilated instantly. You just are. And if it's a ground burst, which if it's over a city, it probably won't be a ground burst. Typically, I think I read a strategic thing that said weapon nukes that hit ground bursts are typically meant to not just smash infrastructure, but bunkers. So the White House may be a place that's hit because there's bunkers underneath. Congress may be a place, Pentagon, on and on and on. Nevertheless, either way, if you're in 5, 10, 15 miles, you're screwed. That is the reality. But the other reality is that pretty much everybody's going to be screwed. So you are going to be facing destruction. Most of you will be facing death, 5, 10 miles out of there. But if you happen to survive, you're going to have to then deal with the reality of radiation. There is not much we can do about that. That is just the reality. But what I'm saying is this, and I've encouraged you up to this point to, if you are in those cities, the major cities, whether it's Boston, whether it's New York City, even Indianapolis, Indiana, even all the way out, LA, East LA, South Central Watts, wherever that, downtown LA is kind of a different animal, but, Denver, a lot of black folks live right next to the Denver International Airport. That's a place that's probably going to experience it when nukes start flying, because something is going on out there at Denver International Airport. That is like when Washington, D.C. is destroyed by nukes, black folks. Denver, Colorado, they said is going to be the seat of the new government. That's what they say, but that place is going to be destroyed too. My family and I moved from there 8 years ago. We lived right next to the Denver International Airport, and there's a suburb there right next to the airport called Mount Bellow, and that's where we live, black folk, right? So what I'm saying is all of these nuclear strike points are where we live, cities where we live. But if you find yourself having survived that initial blast, you're probably going to die of radiation. That is just the reality. However, if you just happen to be in a basement, if you can you can just find your cognition enough to get to the lowest point in a basement or somewhere surrounded by soil or somewhere dug in, that's what I want to encourage you to do. However, there is something else with respect to when nukes hit our cities where we live, black folks, that we have to face. The reality is you are not even going to see it coming. So why are you even worried about it? I'm worried about it because in black cities, what we find out is, yes, the central, in a lot of cities, American cities where these nukes are going to drop. And again, I'm putting the map up again right now. You find this thing where, when the nuke hits, there's a kill zone, right? And we used to call it a kill box when I was in the Marine Corps. But there's a kill zone where almost nothing is going to survive unless they're underground. For instance, New York City. If you are black and you are in the subway on New York City, when that nuke hits, you have a great chance, underground subway, you have a great chance of surviving. The issue becomes when you're in that kill box, you're going to have to get out of there, and that is going to be totally up to you. But I want us black folks, you to understand something as I close here, and then I'll go to the next video. Getting out of those cities, even if it's a grid down situation with electricity, there's an attack on electricity with an EMP, which EMPs are a part of a nuclear weapon, don't necessarily have to be, according to military literature anyway. But there's going to be attack on grids, electronic grids, which means that the electricity is going to go down. Nothing in your house, your cell phone, none of that stuff is going to work. Your wire ain't going to cut on. TV, nothing is going to cut on. And if that's the case, and it's not a nuclear attack, but it's a grid down case where the electricity is attacked by another country, and it's not just other countries either, because our government does dirt to us too, but I'll leave that alone for now. What you are going to have to do is, again, as I said in the last video, by the time that happens, you need to be well supplied. So we're moving from the nuclear attack, which almost none of you black folks are going to survive that in those cities. You're just not. Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Boston, New York City. If we go down, even if they hit, it's going to hit Miami, Los Angeles, you're not going to survive. But if it's just an EMP attack and the grid is taken down, it will take literally years for that grid to be rebuilt to fall. That is when your food stores and the things that you prepared for are going to come into play. Now, I want you to watch that earlier video about just thinking about places in your home or places even in your apartment where if it's less than a catastrophic nuclear attack and it's something that's survivable, potentially like a electric grid down, that you need to find, you need to store, you need to get ready for what's coming. And remember what I said as I close this video, and we'll go on to the next. Don't talk to anybody about your food stores, because when that grid goes down, the electricity is out, nothing is working. Your ATM card, your food stamp card, none of that stuff is going to be working. People are going to come knocking on your doors and they're going to come begging. And as I said in that other video, you're going to have to barricade yourself in there, and that you're not really going to even be able to answer the door, especially after 4 or 5 days of people without food. We'll see you in the next video. Ghetto Prepper out.